Hey everybody. So today we're going to take a look at just a simple Excel spreadsheet to kind of track your expenses. The reason for this video is to be able to just do a high level overview of what your expenses are, how to categorize it. Here we're going to look at both like high level personal and business expenses. So then that way we can kind of take a look at like the percentages of how it's allocated, income versus expenses. We can create a plan to reduce our expenses so that way we can have a positive cash flow. Did you know that the IRS tax code is designed to benefit the business owner, not the W 2 employee? And this is the reason why we're doing this high level expense tracking. And I wanted to show you the possibilities as far as reallocating some of your expenses that would be related to your business. Again, what's necessary and ordinary. So then that way you can reduce your adjustable gross income, lower your tax bracket, and you to be able to save. Here we're going to take a look at the expense type. I color coded it to red for business and blue for personal. The reason I wanted to do that is to kind of show you the possibilities as far as what can be allocated. If you're a W 2 employee and you have a limited liability company, you can do a DBA or a sole proprietor. The reason I like doing the LLC is to protect my personal assets from legal issues, and it actually separates my bank accounts. I can open up a business account, it's a separate entity like its own person, and I can allocate my own funds and contribute as an owner investment to that business account and use that business checking account as an operational expense account and be able to expense out what's necessary and ordinary for my business. So my business model is I'm a licensed insurance professional. I work from home, but I do meet with clients. We do face-to-face meetings. I either go to their home if they're comfortable, come to an office that I rent, and we can meet and discuss finance face to face. So now think about what's ordinary and necessary for that business. A vehicle, insure that vehicle, maintain it. Also, my appearance, I have to look professional. So that's clothing, supplies. And I also have my home office. Anything with regards to the square footage of my office space can be written off. Food, because you have to supply your office, a portion of that will be deducted. Grooming, look, you have to look presentable. And then also anything that's related to marketing, sales. It's an online system. Any software I use, my computers, my cameras, my internet, the electricity that's used, a portion of the home expenses will be deducted and put towards the business expense. That's something that you can talk to your tax strategist about to ensure that you start planning for saving on taxes. In order to avoid paying unnecessary taxes, you have to plan ahead. Talking to a tax strategist will give you an idea of what can be deducted for your business, especially if it's necessary and ordinary. You can actually open up a self-directed individual 401k and you can get a loan from it. You can contribute to it individually, and then you can have your company match it, and that will be an expense. So those are the things that you can kind of take a look at. Start really putting your money and your business to work for you. So the reason for this spreadsheet is just to kind of give a high level overview. There are so many software out there that will be able to help you use AI to help do a little bit in the automated bookkeeping, categorizing, and bank transactions. It's so much easier than using a spreadsheet. This is just to help you start thinking about how you can look at tracking your expenses at a high level. You can just put the information and then you can see how you can maybe reduce some things and then see if you actually want to keep it. Here are the expenses. This is very generic. I went ahead and put them in there, and then I put the different types. Again, this is color coded. The ones in red are possible deductions that also includes business expense. If you have an online business or a home-based office and you're working remote as a business owner, you're able to expense a lot of the stuff out that you have for your business. Think about when you are working at the office. What gets supplied to you? Electricity, internet, telephone, toiletries, cleaning supplies, and sometimes they'll supply food, coffee. Those little things and you get allotted a workspace. So you can do the same for your home. That is how it was explained to me by my tax strategist. Again, it's making sure that you document it. This section right here is the funding frequency. How frequently are you paying for this expense? It's monthly, annually, or bi-monthly. And here on the bank institution, I would actually put the bank name on it. But what is the purpose of the bank account? When you're running a business, you have to separate your personal and your business expenses and track them separately. And even with your business expenses, I would suggest you do the same for your personal. It's easier to kind of keep track if you have a fixed checking account for your bills, the must pay. Again, when we talked about food, shelter, transportation, and utilities, everything that you need to be able to live. Set that into a separate checking account. Make sure that there's enough money to cover those expenses. Create a separate checking account for your spending, your variable. That's your fun money. Set that aside so then that way you can budget and give yourself an allowance on if you want to go out to eat, go spend time with your friends, discretionary travel. I stopped doing the overdraft protection and then linking that to my credit card. And then I stopped using my credit card because there's nothing more embarrassing than going to pay for something when you're out and about and you're not paying attention when your debit card gets declined. That's one way to kind of like keep yourself in check. A lot of people are not taking cash. That's the envelope system was great when, Dave Ramsey was suggesting that and then setting it aside. Whatever that's left, that's what you get to spend. You can do the same with your checking account by removing that overdraft and allowing it to decline. It's embarrassing, but you'll be top of mind, making sure that you have enough money when you don't go above it. So money needs an assignment. So set aside money for your business to pay yourself first. So that's profit first. And then also set aside money and make that a bill for emergency fund.
Choose a high yield savings account.
If you go to raisin.com, you can shop around for different high yield savings that would work best for you. I'm not sponsored by them. Okay. I use Western Alliance. It's a lot easier to be able to just manually link the account to my own checking account, and then I have to set aside the money and put it away. It doesn't allow you to allot it directly or do a direct deposit to it. It doesn't require a minimum amount to open it and then also to keep the interest. I believe there's no fees to it. So I set that aside, and then that way my savings account is easily accessible, but not too accessible. The challenge with having your savings account linked to your current spending account, you just transfer and you're not really saving anything. So that's why I had to kind of create that extra step. Now, when you look here, I also created a brokerage retirement. So we'll talk about that in another video, how I allocated my TSP. So then that way I have control of it versus allowing TSP to just sit there and then I do not have control. I'm not aware and it's all tied into the market. And if there's some market loss, I can't recoup that money back since I'm early retired. So for a business, you want to make sure that you have an operational account. So that's how you pay for your bills.
Include
Services, vendors that I pay for, software that I use. I created one for growth. So I do not want to put that into my operational expense. Again, setting that money aside, like basically giving your education money a budget. Whether you use it this year or not, you can actually write anything that would help you grow your skills. Like I mentioned, profit first, pay yourself first. So then this way you're actually growing your business. And then here I have my personal account and then also have the brokerage return. And then the account bill type. Anything that's related to keeping your household running or keeping your business running, that should be like a fixed expense. So pick a checking account that would use that. For a business, I use Chase and Navy Federal. I use Chase because it's available everywhere. Plus, since I'm a veteran, they allow for fees to be waived. You just have to show your DD-214. For Navy Federal, it's open to service members, whether they're active duty, retired, or veterans, and they don't have a fee. I use that one to make it difficult to access because Chase Bank is everywhere, but maybe Federal, you have to find a branch that's available. So those are the ones that, you know what, I want to set aside that money, whether it's setting aside for my estimated taxes or my profits. I want to make sure that's growing without me constantly touching it. A spend variable expenses checking account. That's the one if I want to uh, keep a small amount. So if anybody uses that card or it gets scammed or swiped, because that happens, they're only going to be able to access a little bit of my account. I can go ahead and keep track of it, make sure those fraud alerts are on. And then I have my emergency high yield saving. That's for my personal, making sure I have enough to cover and then continuously putting money away. So now when you're trying to decide if you want to stop and keep, right? You want to make sure that you're always assessing, especially when you have a business. I'm guilty of this. I get like shiny new projects, like new software is available. And I end up like subscribing to something and then I don't use it. Now, by doing it this way, you can kind of like top of mind, is it worth keeping? Is that subscription valid? Or am I just keeping it just a habit, just in case? I would suggest having like a weekly financial review and then also a monthly reconciliation when you're doing your budget to kind of like, do I need to keep it? Can I reduce the amount? I like the service, but I don't need the full bells and whistles and I can reduce it or like I'm not even using it. Stop. Or you see something that's an expense and then I'm like, okay, research. Is there something better out there that I want to replace it with? So that's how you kind of allocate. Now, each one of these, it's basically a drop down. You can create one of these drop down menus by going to insert and then clicking drop down.
And then you can start adding another item. And that's all it is.
It's super simple, always apply to all. If you need to make any changes, like click on the drop down and click on that little edit. Here, this column calculates the percentage of the total. How much of this monthly cost is actually a percentage of my total expenses? And then it gives me, like, it calculates the annual cost. Sometimes you're just thinking, oh, it's only like $15 a month, but it's actually almost $200 a year. Is that something that's worth keeping? Sometimes we kind of think of the value of the money as monthly, but we don't think about like over time. What is that actually costing us in the long run annually? And then looking at how your expenses are allocated versus like the total. I just wanted to do high level, especially for this video, of how much I'm spending. And then here, mortgage utilities. So how this is allocated and rolled up. You put in your income. This is my net monthly income that's minus taxes. And this is business income. Again, this is just hypothetical because my business is very variable as far as like the commissions that I receive. And this is the projected total amount. Okay. And then this is the annual. And then this total income ratio is basically taking this amount, dividing it by this total. And now the reason for that is like you can kind of see like how your income is allocated. And you can do the same thing with your expenses. Right now, between my personal and my business expenses is 50-50. But you can see I'm spending more than I'm receiving. So now I can kind of take a look at this and like what areas in here that are variable that I can reduce. Am I willing to do it here? So then that way I can make sure that I stay within my expense allotted. So that's how you kind of take a look at how you can make some adjustments. Again, super high level. Having a software that tracks all your books and actually does it in real time is so much better. It'll forecast it a lot better. So I would suggest that would be one of those software that you look into. Right now I have it here, bookkeeping subscription. I am using QuickBooks, but I'm also going to research a replacement. When I mentioned about research, you can actually make a comment. I created additional columns to kind of give you annual cost, comments of any changes you want to make, reminders to kind of make sure that you do it. I like to put things in calendars or my planner. And then if you need to track your username or password and link to the site. This was called a pivot table. All it does is kind of summarize the information that's in the source document. So for me, again, it shows like what I want to keep, what I want to reduce, research, and the grand total. I wanted to break it down and summarize it by the bank institutions, what I have as far as expense types that's in there. So it'll give me the subtotal for each, right? This is just the expanded view. And then this is actually the total expense cost. Now, a pivot table can be anything. You can actually right here design the rows, see how like, and then the expense type, okay, and columns, what I want to stop and keep, and then the values of monthly cost. So I can even change the columns that I want to look at and provide just maybe the account type. So let's take a look at that, see how that would work. Okay. Then I want to remove the stop and keep and then keep the summary values. So again, it shows you my emergency fund, high yield savings. That's what I'm putting away. Like you have your spend variable. This is your fixed. So that's how you can kind of work with the pivot table. If you really want to geek out, I would suggest maybe taking a look at YouTube because that will take a whole nother video to really play with and try to understand and learn how to do summaries. Or you could just get a software that'll do it for you. Trust me, this is how I did it in the past, and it was time consuming. Trying to download the transaction statements from the bank, summarizing each account, right? So every bank account, every credit card, and I had a lot. So it was like, okay, it was just so time consuming. It took me a few months to just get everything together to prepare for tax season. And then it stresses me out because I'm like, okay, I'm on a time crunch. Tax season actually starts the last quarter of the year. So my tax season started in 2025 because you want to start looking at possibly what you can save for the year that you're going to pay. Started planning pretty much as soon as I got my tax return, how I can allocate those funds so then that way I can grow, but then also expense them out. And then how am I going to document that so then that way I make sure that it's valid and run that by my tax strategist to see if it's something that I can actually do. And if they say go for it, then I go ahead and run that play. So I hope this was helpful. This is how you can really biblically count your flocks. Understand how the systems work. Understand how you can allocate and purposefully assign your money so then that way it is working for you. And use the system that's in place to be able to benefit you. So then that way you're saving on taxes and keeping more for yourself, not evading it, but actually doing it the right way. So in that way, you're growing something that can be a potential next source of income or an additional source of income as you are still working. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, please like and share. And if you want to watch more videos on how to manage your finances and learn about the entrepreneurial journey, subscribe. Thank you for watching.